Welcome to the French Drain Man channel. I'm your host, Robert Sherwood. In this video, we're going to talk about the two different types of pipe that you have to choose from for a French drain system. The first pipe we're going to talk about is the PVC pipe. Let's talk about all the different things you have for choices, things you have to look forward to if you run a PVC pipe. I want to make sure to mention all the pitfalls so that you have success if you do choose to run PVC pipe. Now, PVC pipe comes in two perforated pipes. That's it. The choices are only two. This one happens to have 3 rows of holes in it. The other option is 2 rows of holes. The 2 rows of holes would have the hole to the left, the hole to the right, no hole down the middle. A lot of people believe the hole going down the middle weakens the pipe. If you have a hole here and a hole here, you maintain the structural strength of this pipe. You add another hole here, another row of holes here, and you can possibly weaken the pipe. When you drive a lawnmower on this pipe, you don't want it to become brittle so that it cracks. So keep it in mind. Now, this pipe is designed to where its holes go down. The holes are on the bottom of the trench. So you don't want to put any holes in the sides. You don't want to put any holes in the top. You're going to make the pipe too brittle. This pipe is too subject to cracking. So you just want to keep it the way the manufacturer, perforates it. So if you got the 2 holes or the 3 holes in rows, you want to put those down. The water rises up into the pipe and then it's carried away. When sediment builds up in the bottom of your French drain trench, and it will, and it does, it is just the progression of any French drain. There's going to be some sediment in it. The sediment will basically cover the bottom of the pipe, and you'll lose about this much of your pipe. So take a look at that. You're going to lose about that much of your pipe. The water is going to flow up here where the pipe has a greater diameter. So it doesn't really hurt your flow rate. But what it does hurt is your perforations. When there's sediment in the bottom of this pipe, it no longer can take in water. That's a problem. So you can jet this out and you can clean this out to help reduce the amount of sediment. Unfortunately, you can't do anything about the sediment that's on the outside of the pipe in your French drain trench. As it slowly works its way up into the pipe, you can jet it out that way. You'll notice that the performance of your French drain will be less and less as the months go by until you have to jet it out to pick that performance back up again. Now, the other thing you have to be cautious about with PVC pipe can only be ran at 1% slope. There's a reason why home inspections require that your pipe is ran, your indoor plumbing, at 1% slope. If PVC pipe is ran on a 2% slope or greater, the fluid will now outrun any sediment or solids that's in the water. Anything that's suspended in the water outruns, it just falls and gets left behind and it builds up. So you have to run this pipe at 1% slope. You cannot run it at 2% slope. If you have a yard that at some point your French drain is going to be ran on a downhill slope that's going to be greater than 1% slope, that's where this pipe is going to clog. The water will outrun all that sediment and debris that it's carrying, and it'll just be left in the pipe, and it'll just build up until it clogs. So keep that in mind. Now, another thing that I've noticed with PVC pipe is that it builds up a lot of condensation inside. Because it has holes only on the bottom, this pipe is not allowed to vent up into the stone. All French drains should be full of stone. So if you have holes in the top of this pipe, it can now vent, which reduces the greenhouse effect that this causes. So because there's only holes on the bottom and there's no holes on the top and the sides, This pipe will usually grow iron ochre, red algae, a lot of bacteria that grow in the dark and wet, damp places. That'll happen more frequent. You'll need more frequent cleanings, and it brings a lot of additional maintenance cost. So you can run 2 French drain pipes so that it kind of betters your chances with some of that. But the only problem I see with running 2 pipes side by side in a trench is once there's sediment in the bottom of the French drain trench, both these pipes have holes on the bottom. So once there's sediment on the bottom and all the pipes, both pipes are plugged and those inlets are clogged and they won't flow water anymore, it's pretty much useless. And when you jet it, it'll never work 100% like it once did, because there's going to be still sediment in the stone outside of the pipe, and you can't do anything about that. All right, so that's enough with that pipe. I taught you a lot about that pipe. What goes into installing that pipe? It must maintain a 1% slope. You do have to be mindful about the greenhouse effect. If you know you got iron ochre, iron ock, red algae, and there's so many other bacteria grown, so many things that are in our soils that, you know, plague French drains, and you just really got to watch that. So you got to think about that. Is this pipe the right choice? And if you're unsure about your soil bacterias, you might want to go with a different pipe to kind of cover that. So let's talk about corrugated pipe next. So corrugated pipe, it has holes on the top, on the bottom, on the sides, 360 degrees. You can see all the perforations. It has a lot of inlets. So what's nice about corrugated pipe, you could run it on 1% slope, 2% slope, 3% slope. This pipe shines at 2 and 3% slope. There's turbulence right here where the pipe has these ridges and valleys. Those ridges and valleys create a turbulence in the flow of water just at the surface of the pipe. The turbulence isn't up in here. It's just right at the surface of the pipe. So it suspends anything that's sediment or debris. This pipe absolutely shines at 2%. It absolutely shines at 3% and even 4%. So you don't have to worry about running it on 1%, 2%, 3%. If you have some fall in your yard and you're not really sure what you have there, you can be rest assured the corrugated pipe is going to perform flawlessly for you. Now, once the sediment fills the bottom of the trench, and that could take a couple years, it might even take longer than that, depending on how you build it. If you want to put stone under here, you can kind of hold off that sediment buildup, as the sediment will fill the voids of the stone opposed to the bottom of the pipe, but eventually it'll always make its way up to the bottom of the pipe. So right here at the bottom, you don't flow a lot of water. You flow all the water right here, the rest of the pipe, at its greatest diameter. So once the bottom holes are clogged and they no longer can take in water, and you can see these 2 bottom ones are closer together, where the PVC, it's further apart. So once this is clogged and these 2 are clogged, no big deal. Now we have the ones that are safely out of the sediment, up the sides. Look at it, it's all the way around, 360 degrees. Either you have a 4-slot staggered or an 8-slot. You don't want 4-slot in a row. You want 4-slot staggered or 8-slot. You're going to see perforations really, really close to one another. Like these rows are not far apart. And this happens to be our 8-slot. We really enjoy that pipe and its performance. So you don't have to worry about the slope that you set this on. You don't have to worry about the sediment buildup in the bottom. The pipe's still going to take in water from the sides and from the top. And the other thing you don't have to worry about is the greenhouse effect. You don't have to worry about all that additional And don't get me wrong, you're still going to have bacteria that'll grow in a corrugated pipe, but it's not going to be due to that greenhouse effect where it really accelerates that whole process. The things we find growing in PVC pipe because it doesn't vent at the top. Because remember, the pipe, if it would vent like corrugated, where you have holes on the top, you have all that stone that you put on top of the pipe. And especially if you went with larger rock on top of the pipe, it's really going to vent well. And you shouldn't see any like bacteria growth of any kind. Mold and mildew build up in PVC. It's just the way it is. You got that greenhouse effect, that dome, and it just really builds up. Don't see that in corrugated pipe. All right, everybody. If you found this helpful, give me a thumbs up. It shows me that you appreciate the videos that I'm putting together. If you have any questions and videos that you want me to make, leave that in the comments section. I'm your host, Robert Sherwood, and until the next video.